Yeah, your hair's not great.
Oh, what is with my hair?
Just the front bit. It's you've got one bit that's you're making it worse. It's much worse.
There we go.
Oh, what's that guy? Who's the guy who, the dude who used to chop bodies up in his house?
Tom Putt.
No, he's recently had a.
I know. I don't know Matt, I've got to get this hair out before the wedding. I've got 4 months to get it right.
Oh, at the rate you're going, I reckon that most of it will have fallen out by then. So you don't have to worry about it.
It's been doing that for the last 10 years, at least 15.
Falling out.
Thinning like at the top there. And I used to have very thick, luscious hair.
Now it's thick with glue. Like Ray Martin. We could we could make a Lego character out of your hair.
Look like Ken, the Barbie doll.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet you as well. Nice to see you. Thanks for that.
Wow.
Welcome, everybody, to yet another excellent
Another
podcast
one
episode.
or the first one? Sort of the first one. It's like the reset button.
Come on, we've got to make it sound like we've been doing this for many years.
We have been doing it for many, many years. We just decided not to show you because they've not been very good up until now.
It's like that add-on TV that says, this is so-and-so. Remember the guy brushing his teeth, the dentist brushing his teeth, and they're like, we can't show you his face on TV.
Oh.
You don't remember that ad?
No, that was before my time.
Can you splice that into this Vodcast?
This man is a dentist, so we can't show you his face on television. Morning, Rob.
You're going to need to have the bloopers button on, the dumb button here. I think there might be a few
I reckon we
swear
should go out
words.
and get a bloopers button for the next episode.
Like
an actual panic button. Yeah.
We do need to have something like that. Yeah. We're going to add a whole lot of props into this whole scenario.
I think we should have had cameras here with some lenses, vintage cameras. Yeah. So
Don't you think though, that when people have profile photos of themselves and they're holding a camera, it is the most cheesiest thing in the whole wide world.
Not cheesy at all. That's
It's
what I do
so
with my
cheesy.
life.
We do not need a photo of you with your camera to know that you're a photographer.
It's my identity.
No, you're not. You're not that. You're not that camera.
I should be there with a computer instead because that's what we realistically do with most of our time.
Well, we do. We've got this.
We've both got our computers as well.
Yes.
Here as well.
Yeah. So what are we doing, by the way? I feel very self-conscious with this camera on.
I think we should.
Which is unusual because I've got a really big ego.
Should we roll the intro instead? Just piss this right off. Start again.
Go.
They're a little bit loose, a little bit unstrung, and they've probably had a few beers beforehand. Please welcome Matt Crummins and Tom Fancy Pants Putt with yet another episode of Matt and Tom's Excellent Adventure.
Don't do more than 10 seconds because then we'll breach copyright.
Rock and roll music's gonna play all night. That used to be the intro to the radio show that Mary and I used to do. We used to do a live radio show. We did about 50 episodes.
So after all these years, you finally got the face for TV, and we're moving from audio only.
I know.
And as he's become the Silver Fox.
It's a tragedy. Yeah. Silver Fox.
Although I've noticed you've actually got competing amounts of silver these days.
This is the problem when you shave your head really short on the sides, which Mary, the beautiful Mary, did for me the other day.
Got the clippers out?
At Liam's place up in Brisbane.
Right.
I desperately needed a haircut, and I didn't have time to go to the barber.
And he thought, the week to do my own haircut is the one where we're going to start recording a video podcast. Clever man.
Liam's like, I've got clippers, but I've only got the number one.
Right.
So we're like, oh, that'll be okay. I feel like something a bit different. So we go outside, stool, out on the deck, so we can just, blow the hair off the deck. Blow your hair off the deck. That's not a euphemism. And... Number one, and you know what's happening? She's going bzz, bzz, bzz. And I'm like, okay, babe, if this doesn't go well, just let's know that the fallback position is to just cut this off, right, altogether. And she's going bzz, and then she's going, oops, bzz, bzz, oops. And I'm like, do not oops me when you're cutting my hair. No. That is not a good look.
It's actually far worse when the surgeon does it, though.
Especially A, because it's more tragic.
Yeah.
And B, you probably shouldn't be hearing what they're saying.
No, you probably shouldn't
be hearing what they're saying at all.
Especially when you can't move to do anything about it.
No.
That's the worst.
Oops. Okay.
Anyway, so we are talking an actual topic. So we've decided after all these episodes that maybe we haven't really said anything after 64 hours of being on the air or whatever we're up to.
Probably is about 64 hours.
And so We have a bit of a new format. This episode 1, we should probably talk about what we're going to do. How's this going to look? Why are you watching this thing? Why are you wasting your life?
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because we don't have enough distractions.
No, exactly.
Let's do it. Let's create. Hey, there's this new thing out called YouTube.
On the interweb.
And there's the internet, and there's this thing where you can post videos. So we should probably jump on board because I reckon it's the next big thing.
Maybe.
In 2023.
All
YouTube's
chips
only
in.
been
All
around
chips
since
in.
2005. So we're 18 years late to the party.
I would say it's then perfectly matured.
We're perfectly mature as well, are we?
Yeah. I wouldn't have been very good at this when I was 10. I mean,
No, this is it.
Yeah. But we are talking about a topic, so we've got a bit of a new format. The new format is going to be that we're actually going to talk about real stuff. And today...
No, we're not going to ruin it by doing that.
We are going to be talking...
But we're trying to be a bit more professional, hence why we've got us on YouTube.
Yeah, with our faces and the real talking stuff. But we are talking about all things backup because...
Hey, wait. Back up.
Hey!
Did you like that?
No, not really.
Back up, Maddie.
It's a visual gag.
Okay. Let's not put... That's where we do need the soundbite. Beep, beep,
Or the
beep.
cancer.
Yeah, start again. Okay.
But we are talking all things backup because this week I hit an epiphany. I got a spanking. I got a spanking.
Was it in this room?
It was not in this room. It was a phone. It was a phone.
Have we got a
spanking.
visual thing there to show everybody? Can we splice
like
that
a
in?
No, I got a spanking because I spoke to a good dear friend of ours, Mr. Nicholas Fletcher.
Oh, Nick. Oh, there you go. How many?
one
2
already
minutes,
mentioned,
2.5 minutes in, and we're mentioning Nick Fletcher.
And I was asking about hard drives because, I've got this... I bought a Drobo a long time ago. And a Drobo, for those who don't know, it's a RAID drive. So you put a whole bunch of hard drives in it and it spreads your data over a bunch of disks, which is
And
great.
it's supposed to back up one to the other.
Yeah.
I think it used to come in like a 4 or an 8 or something like that.
You put your drives in it, so you make it
Yes.
as big as you want. But the problem is these guys went out of business and then just announced that, oh, by the way, it's not supported anymore either. So if you've got one, it'll just not work
Let
anymore.
me tell you why they went out of business.
bad model.
Well, I had one about 10 years ago. Not only did the system cost me a good $1,000, then you had to buy all the drives to go with it.
Yeah.
And then it was killing hard drives.
Yeah.
And it killed at least one of my hard drives to then, I think I got in contact with Christian Fletcher, not related to Nick Fletcher.
Although it might be, you guys should get in touch.
And he said the same thing. Oh, yeah, it's been killing my hard drives as well. It's like, you do not want any system that's going to kill your hard drives.
Not a good idea, no.
So I think I ended up flogging it to some other poor soul.
And now they're out of business too, so...
It doesn't surprise me that Drobo went out of business because it doesn't sound like it was a very good business.
No.
If it didn't work.
No, this was a big problem. So I have still been using it. It still works, but it's going to be out of date. The moment I update my MacBook Pro, it's going to be out of date. They're just going to say we'll no longer support it. So I'm thinking I need a replacement. Anyway, I called Nick and I got a spanking because it turns out he has the most convoluted backup system in history. You got to pull this up a bit to go flexible. And he goes, I asked him about his system and he's got like this NAS drive that backs up to a DAS drive, which backs up to the internet and goes, it's seriously out of control.
Yeah.
And so I had to go out and do my research this week to work out what I was going to start using and trying to get all clever. And I'll tell you what, it was a bloody rabbit.
And we had
It
a
was
bit of a
just
chat.
Insane.
We had a bit of a chat offline about this, didn't we?
a chat or a giggle? I'd say a giggle.
A giggle. Because
learned a lot.
I explained what my very complicated system was, and you went, yeah, you're not helping me there.
Yeah, your complicated system. It was almost like
I didn't add any value to the conversation whatsoever.
No, it's
It
kind
was
of
almost
like
what?
asking the Flintstones what car they drive.
Yeah, we
And
all
just
know.
as they yabba dabba do off into the
We all
distance.
know.
How
How much do we love the Flintstones, by the way? They were pretty good.
Yeah.
What's happened to all those shows? You know, do they make shows like that anymore?
Oh, they do. You Bluey.
Bluey.
Sort of.
Yet to watch one. Clearly,
Yeah.
Mary and I need to have more kids to be able to watch that sort of stuff.
Practice makes perfect. That's all I can say.
Oh, we're doing lots of practice.
Yeah, good.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, back
Come
to-
on.
back
How
to-
did we get on to
Back
that?
to not being cancelled. That's it.
How good would that be?
You just
Cancelled
violated
after
all of
episode
YouTube's
one.
like
I know.
yeah,
I know.
right conditions.
All right.
So
So
I
we
went
help
out.
people?
I went out and I just bought myself a brand new system. You think that the other ones are expensive? Drives and all the junk that goes with it these days is wildly expensive. And so we thought today we would discuss some of the different opportunities or options you've got when it comes to backing your stuff up, and some of the critical mistakes that people make. Not that you're making necessarily, although maybe
we did say when we were sort of workshopping this new format for the podcast that we did say we were going to make it quite relatable.
Yeah.
And therefore, it will be a case of us telling you what we have done very poorly.
Yeah.
Don't think that we are experts in this area, although we've actually got it right, because
I think
we haven't.
No, we haven't got it right. But that said, though, there are so many different options, and there's no right way to do it. And so I think that one of the trickiest things I found was that you've got different people who've got different needs. And so I went to the computer shop. I haven't never said that in my life before.
God.
I've never been to a computer shop.
And you got all the
except for like Apple.
geek stuff.
Even worse. They looked at me like I was like totally on drugs.
Absolutely stupid.
I'm like, all I need to do, I've got a hard drive.
Yeah.
So my system, just, I think maybe we should describe what our systems are so people know what we're talking
That's
about.
a good idea.
So my system at the moment is I've got my laptop and I put like a 4 terabyte drive in it. Like it's brought up with a 4 terabyte drive. Because I don't like dangly drives. I don't like things that are connected to it.
Hold on. You're saying actually inside the shell.
In the computer. It's so simple.
You've hacked into it.
No. Like when I bought it, I bought it with a 4 terabyte
You spec'd it up.
drive. I spec'd it up. And
you paid ridiculous amount of money for that because Apple does charge you a ridiculous amount of money.
It wasn't.
You can buy one of those naked 4 terabyte hard drives.
I do.
That goes into this laptop for like $350.
I do, yeah. But
anyway. The $3,500 that Apple charged you was well justified.
Absolutely. So anyway, I like that because when I'm traveling, especially and on aeroplanes, I hate having a little hard drive plugged in. So I like to always be able to download and just know that wherever my laptop is, I can kind of work on my current projects.
So what you're saying is that when you are traveling and you are downloading your files, you're storing them on your laptop.
They're on my laptop. And often I'll have a drive, like I'll back them up to a drive when I'm traveling. But it means that working on my Lightroom catalog and stuff, I can just open my laptop. I don't have to have a drive.
Yeah, got it. I can understand that. You know what? Tick that box.
Check.
I'm happy with the conversation so far.
Perfect.
It's going. So you've got to the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
You can proceed to checkpoint number 2.
All right. So the second part of this is that they're my current projects, I call them. So things I haven't fully edited yet. So I'm still going through WA from last year. I've still got trips from this year. I've still got client projects on there. But when something's edited or finished with the edit, I then archive it.
You migrate it
off that onto a 20 terabyte lacy RAID drive.
My goodness gracious me, that's
Keep in mind, I do a lot of video, so it's
professional.
There's a lot of data because it's just video takes up extra space. So it's not for photographers. I think that's pretty massive overkill. If you've got that many photos, you probably need to rethink.
There's probably people watching this or listening to this going, "I will never ever shoot 20 terabyte worth of in the rest of my life."
Yeah, and obviously better photographers than me because just to get the shot right, it's like
they're not taking 20 of the same thing.
No, and so the thing is that's a great system. A RAID drive's a really good system because if one of the hard drives inside it dies, they sort of self-heal and you can put another drive in and it fixes itself, right? So you don't lose stuff necessarily.
So let's just talk about that RAID system, just in case people are going, RAID, what are they talking about? You're talking about multiple hard drives that has built-in software to the system that automatically backs up one hard drive to the next.
Sort of. So it's like you can do it in all different ways. So a RAID drive, you can have it set up in multiple ways. So you can have it so it's got one redundancy, which means if one drive fails, your data's spread in such a way, it's very clever, I don't know this stuff, but it's spread in such a way that any one drive could die and it can survive. And you just pull the dead drive out, put a new drive in, it self-heals, everything's fine.
Nice.
You can do it so if 2 drives die, they call it, I think it's called a
hot mess. That's what it's called.
No, it's like a hot, what is it called? It's like a hot redundancy. So basically there's one completely empty drive in there. So when the one fails, if it fails, you don't even have to replace it with a new one. It just automatically goes and uses this blank drive and heals it up.
Right.
And then there's mirroring. There's all sorts of different RAIDs. So it's like RAID 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10, right?
Right.
But the point of it is that you can afford for something to go wrong and you're still okay.
Yep.
And then I kind of thought about it after getting spanked from Nick Fletcher. And he kind of said, yeah, but what's the realistic thing that's going to go wrong here? Is it that one of your hard drives fails? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's probably realistic. It happens a lot. Yeah. Not to me individually, but like statistically, it's the most likely problem.
Why are hard drives failing though? If you're spending, I thought these days, if you bought the right sort of brand or spend a bit of money,
Well,
Your drives shouldn't fail.
well, they shouldn't fail.
They shouldn't, but they do.
But if you think about it, like if you
But
said that there's
human beings shouldn't crash their cars, but they still do.
and even better, Tesla shouldn't crash their cars that are self-driving, and they do. So,
Oh, I've got a little bit of useless.
did you buy a Tesla?
No, but I watched this movie the other night with Julia Roberts in it called The Next World or something like that. And it's all about these self-driving Teslas that just run into each other on this freeway. And it's just got
Dodgem cars in
It's
real
got
life.
like hundreds of these Teslas all just banging into each other. It's incredible. I don't know whether they
What is it? Just like
spent that money.
an hour and a half of that. There was a $500 million production budget. It was just because of all the Teslas.
People are
they
thinking
smashed.
that sounds really cool. I should probably watch that movie. Don't. Just fast forward to that bit.
Yeah.
it was,
Oh, so no, the whole movie wasn't
it was
just Tesla.
rubbish.
Okay.
It was rubbish.
Fair enough.
Go on.
But the reality is with your hard drives, I think, and this is something I think I see a lot in workshops and one-on-ones especially, people's backup drive sits in the same room as their original.
Yep.
And you go,
Danger, danger.
100%. Like you could get robbed, which is actually quite likely.
And don't think it doesn't
Realistically.
happen. It happened to a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He got home from a shoot, had his cameras, hard drives sitting on his kitchen table, and somebody came into the house, robbed the house, and took everything that was on the table.
Yep.
Just went, oh, that must be valuable, and grabbed everything.
And
He
what are the
lost-
best those hard drives are in a bin somewhere because they're like, oh, this is hard drives. But you don't work that out till you take it, you know?
Well, often the people don't understand what they're robbing or what they're taking, so they think it looks important, so they take it anyway. Yeah.
So that's pretty likely. The other one, which I think is actually more likely even, is electrical problems.
Oh, as in, like power surges in your home.
Power surge.
Particularly if you live like in a tropical area, Port Douglas with a cyclone.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm even worried about whenever we have so I'm in the Yarra Valley and we've got a questionable power grid, and we have a storm.
Yep.
I always get worried that all it takes is a lightning strike down the road somewhere on something, and I would worry that power surge would come through. Or even more kind of terrifying, because it's less dramatic, is that if the power cuts out and your hard drives are halfway through writing data,
Right.
they can scratch.
Right.
So you imagine like a hard drive these days is a solid state. They're kind of the more modern ones, but some of the
we
older
need to cover that
drives,
off.
yeah. So the solid state doesn't really have moving parts. It's like it looks like a set of chips.
Yeah.
The older drives, which are the cheaper ones, which most people still use, unfortunately,
Yeah.
those actually have a spinning disc in them. So it almost looks like a CD inside a box.
And you can hear it or at least feel it spinning even. Yeah.
And it's got a little needle.
Yep.
And the needle's on their writing.
It's like a record player.
It's like a record player.
Shit,
and so what
okay.
can happen is if you bump it, that's why you can't bump or drop a hard drive.
No,
because if it's writing, you can scratch it.
Well, even if it's not writing.
Yeah. And so when you have a power surge, what can happen is the electricity cuts out and the needle can go down and basically hit the disc.
Right.
So at least as far as I'm aware, I'm not a hard drive expert, but this is what I've been told. So there's all these...
this is a bit like giving stock market information. It's kind of like
not financial
Yeah,
advice.
this is not financial advice. Please read the PDS before making any investment decision.
100%.
Yeah. Go on. We don't claim. Let's just set the record straight. We don't claim to be an expert at anything here.
No.
We are just two guys having a little bit of fun with our logos on our shirts, pretending to be professional.
Yeah. No, like,
People knew that already.
But we do a lot of research in our field, and probably more research than what a lot of people
We
have
are
time
working
to.
practical photographers
That's a good one.
wanting to share our expert knowledge or somewhat questionable expert knowledge with others.
I think we should put that disclaimer at the front of the podcast before everyone's...
There's the intro for like every other podcast that we do from now on. We are expert professionals, or we are professionals with expert knowledge.
Yeah, maybe we just put in the terms of it's actually just watered down ultimately to just here are two people on camera talking.
Yes.
Do not listen. Do not even subscribe or listen to what they're doing.
Oh, speaking of which, if you are watching this for the first time, please hit the subscribe button below. We'd really appreciate that. We'll even send you a check for $100 just as a little thank you. Maybe not. But of course, we'd love you to subscribe so you can watch every single episode and not miss one ever. When you hit that subscribe button, make sure you press the little bell that'll notify you every time we release a new episode. Because again, you don't want to be getting old advice. We're going to be cutting edge. Oh my God. This is time critical information. If you do not watch this within 24 hours of this episode being released,
You might be in trouble. Yeah.
heaps of trouble. Oh my God, photography career over.
Your hard drives could be melting in your office if you didn't listen to this.
How did you like that for a plug?
That was
pretty good. I totally have railroaded your whole explanation about hard drives.
Yeah, I think we should get back on track.
We got to we've got to have that. Remember, we've got to have the thing on the desk that's going to get us back on track.
Oh, like a time machine thing.
Go.
Yeah, so all these problems happen.
Right.
Seriously.
Where were we?
Yeah, I know, right? We were talking about hard drives. But all these problems actually happen on drives, and we don't always think it'll happen to us, which it does. And we also, I think we underestimate how frequently these things happen.
Right.
And it's usually things that are out of your control. You know, again, if you just want to think about like being robbed as an example, even if you think no one's going to take my little passport hard drive off my desk, no. But if someone's going to take your computer monitor off your desk and they just swipe everything else off the desk, your drive's on the floor. So
what you're saying is that if you're going to back up, you've obviously got to have an disk off-site as well as a little reassurance.
Yeah.
And not you've got a studio that you work in and that's in the house. We're talking about off-site as in take it to work, as in give it to the next door neighbour.
sign it up to a private school and make sure it goes. It's
Really?
you want to look after it. You want to
going
look
to
after
cost
it,
me a
nurture it.
fortune.
No, well, this is the thing, because a lot of people kind of get in their head, they go, oh, I'm just going to load it to, I'll just sync it to OneDrive or to Dropbox or to Google Photos and whatnot. And that's not a bad idea if you don't have a lot of photos, but most of those plans have a 2 terabyte limit.
That's a lot.
Even if you sign up to like the top end, of Dropbox, then you get 2 terabytes.
Yep.
Now, that's a ton of photos. Let's not kid ourselves. But over the course of 10 years, it's actually not that many, especially when you start looking at how big photos are these days. Like your files be what, like 100 and something?
Well, bigger and bigger, obviously. I'm filling hard drives quicker than ever because of the larger cameras that you're using, and maybe you're shooting on a Z9, Nikon Z9 that's taking 20 frames per second. It's stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's what my Tonga trip, I took like 7,000 shots because it was in burst mode, and they're 105 or 110 megabytes each. So there's 3 gigabytes a second it can shoot.
Yeah.
So it adds up really quickly.
Yeah.
And so these kind of virtual backups are they're good, but it's pretty hard to find somewhere that will actually host that much data.
Yeah.
That's going to be of any real use.
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
So
I think it's practically out of the question.
I don't think it makes a lot of
I
sense.
don't think it's not something we're recommending.
No, it's also really, really slow.
Yeah.
Like, you think about Australian internet speeds, the
upload speed is terrible.
Shocking. So
Yeah.
you might see this advice on other YouTube channels where they go, oh,
They're generally in third world countries that have a lot faster internet speed than what we do.
well, geez, you look at places like Singapore and I think it's South Korea, Singapore and their upload and speeds are like
What are we talking?
300 meg or something a second.
So to give people an idea, most people would probably have a download speed of maybe 25 to 50 meg per second at the moment.
Yeah.
And what would uploads be? Similar or less?
6 or 7.
6 or 7 versus 300.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Okay. So we're nowhere near in the ballpark.
And like that 300, please don't hold me to it, but they're very high numbers, especially in Asian countries because they've got way better internet system in the whole. But that's the issue here is you go, well, how do you protect yourself like that? So my old system was to have my Drobo and I'd bring it into the house.
It's important
I'd
to
go and
have
plug it
protection.
in. For the future. And I'd back that up to this other hard drive, and then I'd send my Drobo back off to like my parents' place or a friend's place or something. This was off site.
Yep.
And that's just not that practical.
Right.
So
What's
now-
your advice? What do you do now?
Yeah,
what are
right.
you going to do?
So what I'm now doing is I've just bought myself a NAS drive.
Yes.
So NAS is a network attached storage. So NAS, network attached
NAS,
storage. And
yep.
what it means is that basically it runs over a network, and in fact you can have it off site and you can get it to sync to your stuff back on your computer, or you can access it off site. So you can have it as an off-site hard drive. It is still slow to upload and download. Like, it's taken about 6 days already to just transfer all my stuff onto it. But
So where's it sitting at the moment?
well, at the moment, I'm not telling you. What if you jeopardize me? You might rob me.
Just having you know that we're at Matt's house at the moment, so that's why he's so worried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
address is just in the bar below. Pick up some nice photos. It doesn't matter. I stole them from Tom Putt anyway, so.
That's it. He steals all my good ideas. Yep.
But yeah, you've got this system where essentially I can go and now drop that at somebody else's place, have it plugged into the web. And as I load photos up, yes, it's going to go over internet speeds and stuff, but it's already done the bulk of that backup straight away. So it's a 3-part system. Photos on the computer.
Yep.
Then they migrate over to another hard drive at the house, which is also locked up. Like, it's in a proper lockbox. You can't get to it very easily.
Okay.
And then it's going to be backed up to a NAS drive, which was offsite. And there's one last piece of my puzzle.
Go.
I've put onto, and we have no affiliation with these guys whatsoever. Although
Here we
they
go.
might be
Here
alright, I
comes
don't
the
know.
gratuitous
No.
plug. Here we go.
So there's a mob called Backblaze, which actually have an unlimited online backup. So they are backing up currently. I'm at files remaining. I've got 148,720 files to go. but it backs up all my hard drives and computer into the cloud. And if you need to restore it, you can actually get them to send you a physical hard drive with all your stuff rather than just having to download it, which is obviously outrageous. So it's a subscription service.
Unlimited cloud storage for personal and enterprise, trusted by 500,000 users.
500,001 now.
Unlimited online backup for $9 a month.
Yeah.
So are literally all your files going onto that?
Yeah.
All of your raw files?
Everything. So now I'll have offsite.
So hold on, we
cloud,
just recommended not to do that.
No, it's not as your primary because it's going to take forever to do it, right? And it's not something you can.
This is going to run for the rest of your life.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
So you leave your computer on, and like Nick was saying, his one took like 3 months to get the first version up on the web. It takes a long time, but it is the sort of thing that runs in the background. It's just a layer of redundancy,
Right?
And for the price it is, I think it's relatively.
This is very geeky tech talk here.
So you talk about your
because I
back
want
to the Stone Age.
I want to bring it back to those listening and watching to sort of go, yeah, that all sounds way too complicated and convoluted to me.
It's not that
Give me
complicated.
something really simple and easy to do. All right.
So Tom just puts them on his iPhone.
Here we go. No, shut up. All right. So I first and foremost do not ever store anything on my laptop because I don't have the space. I've got a 500 gigabyte hard drive and I would fill that up in one shoot sometimes. Okay. So what I do is I buy multiple hard drives off Amazon or our sponsors.
Link in the description. No, there's not a link in the description.
And I buy either one, it's always a solid state drive these days, as we've discussed earlier. Solid state drives are far more stable and reliable than anything that's spinny. So don't get sucked into perhaps going to Officeworks or Harvey Norman or anywhere else and going, oh my God, I can buy a 4 terabyte hard drive for $80. I should definitely buy one of those. That's the old spinny ones.
Also, just to mention on that, old spinny ones are not created equal either. There's a reason why some of them cost a lot. The ones that are called elements, you know, like those are like the base level. They're not designed to last more than a couple of years.
I used to buy the Western Digital ones, which were very somewhat reliable. Let's not say very reliable. They were okay. I actually use them now as my third-rate backup.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I do now is I buy the solid state drives, either 1 or 2 terabytes, as well as 4 terabyte, but naked ones. What I mean by that is they don't come in a case. You can buy a separate case for them. You know what? Being practical, I should have actually bought one to show people.
Hold on, we can Photoshop it. If you hold it like, just hold your hand like.
There you go. There it is right there. Yeah, the case. And why do I buy them naked? Because they're cheaper than buying them in the case. Okay. But the 1 and 2 terabyte ones.
It's unlike people.
Yes, true. Yeah. Unlike.
Naked people are far more expensive than ones that have got their clothing on.
Let's go on to, say, Amazon, because people probably purchase off Amazon.
He's got his affiliate link.
SSD, 1 terabyte, solid state hard drive. I buy the Samsung version, and we are looking at $159. This is recorded in December 2023. It'll be far cheaper in 12 months' time.
3 days, yeah.
So what I do is when I go away on a photo shoot, I download directly onto that 1 terabyte hard drive.
Yep.
Okay. And I won't fill that necessarily from one shoot because that's a lot of info.
Yeah,
right?
and you get it right the first shot anyway. That'd be thousands of perfect shots.
I'm glad you said that rather than me because it seems a little bit self-gratuitous for me. Yeah. I'll buy 2 or 3 of those actually.
Charity tin just to like shake after I say those things to you.
I like to have 3 copies of all my files regardless of where I am. So let's say we buy 2 of those 1 terabyte hard drives, plug them into our laptop, and then that's 2 copies, and then the third copy is obviously the cards that I'm shooting on.
So you don't delete off the cards.
No, I don't delete off the cards while I'm traveling.
Yep.
And you know, cards, SD cards or whatever you're using are so cheap these days, other than the XQD bloody hell. That there's no reason why you shouldn't have big versions of those that will store all the info that you possibly could want when you go on a shoot. Right?
Especially, I think, as a landscape photographer, you're not shooting 10 frames a second.
No,
you don't need a particularly fast card. You need reliable, not fast.
No.
Yeah.
So then when I get home, I will then transfer the photos onto those 4 terabyte naked drives, okay? And then I can delete off my card. Once I fill those 1 terabyte hard drives, like I might use one for 2023 and write on it, you know, I've been to Lake Eyre, I've been to blah, 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 I've been to that. And if that fills, I then just put that aside. I just store that somewhere else because that's as a backup. The 4 terabyte hard drive is a backup as well, okay? And then finally, so there's 3 copies. There's 2 1 terabyte drives plus my 4 terabyte drive.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Once I've filled all of those.
You put them in a time capsule and bury them wherever you're on your next trip.
My 4 terabyte one is my primary source, and the 1 terabyte ones are my backups.
Yeah.
The other thing I do, and how am I backing up? I'm simply just dropping and dragging in Microsoft Explorer, or Finder in Mac. I'm just simply going, right, I finished that shoot, and that's all the photos from that trip, and I just simply drop and drag the whole folder across.
You know, that's a really good point, because we've both got a similar system like that, right? Where you're doing it for individual shoots. For me, when I'm doing my backups, I'm backing up everything all at once. And yes, you can get software that does this, like Carbon Copy Clone is one that I've started using for the NAS drive thing.
Right.
But normally, my big thing is to have all of my folders or subfolders for Lightroom sitting inside one folder called raw images.
Yep.
So when it comes to backing up everything, it's like everything's in that one folder.
Yep.
I don't have to think about, I'll grab some stuff from the desktop, grab some stuff. Yeah.
But if you had say you went to, say, Lake Eyre, and you took all these beautiful photos with me,
Which
on a workshop,
obviously,
of course.
Which is running, when's that running?
And you write, Lake Eyre 2023, and all of the photos from that photo shoot are sitting in that folder. It's not hard to just drop and drag it onto another drive, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing is, you've got to make sure that you know what the size of that folder is.
Yeah. So
check on your other folder, your other hard drive that it's all copied across, because you don't want to think it has and it hasn't.
Yeah.
And then what I finally do, guys, is I take all of my 5-star favorites from Dropbox.
So these are like
Lightroom.
your gallery photos, basically.
Yeah, the Lightroom catalog. So it's those who don't know my workflow is that I tend to download, backup. I go through my Lightroom catalog. I 5-star my favorite images. I then develop or, edit those 5-star favorites.
The shit out of, but yeah.
That's it. They look nothing like the raw file.
I use generative AI to
And then what I do is I then export those photos up into my Dropbox. So I export the 5-star favorites as high-res JPEGs, not anything else, just high-res JPEG, quality 100, quality 12 in Photoshop, for example, as high-res 300 DPI JPEGs into the Dropbox as another backup. And that way into my Dropbox, because I have a Dropbox account.
Which could be anything though, for anyone else.
Anything, any sort of
Google
cloud.
Drive.
And the reason I do that is A, I can have another backup. B, I can access them from anywhere in the world in case I need to order something because somebody's ordered something off the website.
What a mug or something with,
Correct, a mouse pad. Yeah. People still use it. And then also too, why are they high-res JPEGs rather than the raw files? Because I'm happy with the way that JPEG looks. And if it's a high-res JPEG, it takes minimal space and minimal time to upload into Dropbox. As we were talking about before with Matt, if you're uploading raw files, it's going to take a lot longer than, say, a high-res JPEG.
Yeah.
And that way, I rest assured that I've at least, if all of those hard drives failed, if the house burnt down, if the place got robbed, whatever, I've still got my absolute favorites. I'd be devastated if I lost everything, but I've still got my absolute favorites. They're not lost because Dropbox would have to die for me to lose them.
Yeah, which is not likely. Although I do, not to being a scaremonger, but I do wonder sometimes, you think about these massive cloud storage platforms and you think, yes, they've got redundancies all over the world and things, but surely there is a susceptibility for hacking or whatever it is. There's so much on there. But
or the company goes bust and you lose all your files.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I think a really good takeaway from this, because you're right.
Let's wrap it up. Where are we at with things? Do you see anything wrong with my system?
No, so I reckon the first thing I think you need to think about if you're going to look at your backup system, the first thing I'll say is that backing up your photos is different to backing up your catalogs. Right. So if you're using Lightroom, when you exit Lightroom and it says, do you want to back up your catalog? That's not your photos. That's just the edits.
And that's a topic for
another day. But it's important to know.
Yeah.
I think the next part is to understand what you personally do. So, for instance, my workflow, I would churn through far more photos a year than what you would.
And most of our listeners would.
Would, because I'm doing...
Or watches.
Corporate... Or watches.
Yes, or watches, yeah.
You're like, you say that as you
watches, yeah.
Just
give my sponsors a plug.
You can see on the Amazon list.
If you like what I'm wearing today, just check all the links below.
but you go... I'm churning through a lot more data. So for me, something like the new NAS drive, 64 terabytes. It's bloody massive.
Yeah.
And
Just like you, Matt. You've been working out, mate. You're massive.
No, cake. Cake. Actually, it's not been cake.
It's a lead up to Christmas. It's that gingerbread house that you bought for Christmas,
It's
thinking
my gingerbread house.
you were going to open it on Christmas Day, but instead you've eaten it already.
Yeah.
No, that's me.
It's my gin bread basket.
What you're saying is, though, is that there's horses for courses, isn't there?
100%.
At the end of the day, this is not a one solution for everybody.
No.
Matt's situation, your situation, is a lot different to mine or other people
Yeah.
because you're dealing with a far greater beast.
Yeah.
You're
And-
dealing with a big problem that needs a big solution.
Well, it's also got a different stakeholder in it because if I lost all my files, not great. Yes, Nick, I'm addressing it.
Stakeholder. That's very corporate
I know.
speak.
Well, that's the thing. But they
Start
are,
using
but they are-
acronyms now, and then
No,
we'd
but-
be really into the
But think about it,
corporate
right?
world.
They are corporate. A lot of them are they are corporate clients, and so they have an expectation that their photos are firstly, safe.
Yes.
But they're also secure. And I'm shooting a lot of files for these people, and whereas if you were doing it as a hobby and you lost last week's, trip to the beach, that is a far less important. You could go to the beach again next week, and in short of having seen something insane, you could probably replicate it. So your risk level is a lot lower potentially. And with your trips, you're going to have.
That you're saying they don't matter.
No, but it's no, exactly.
So rude.
Because you could just get them off. But you think about
Just
like.
download them off iStock Photo.
But once you've done a trip, you come back from say like Iceland,
Yeah.
and you've got, probably how many keepers would you keep from a trip like that?
Oh,
Like
a week.
5-star keepers.
A
Not-
week you might have 50 maximum. Yeah.
So that is a super manageable amount of photos.
Yeah.
And if you lost all the others that weren't keepers,
yeah.
who cares because they weren't keepers?
Well,
And it's nice to have them, but you're
know
never
what?
going to go, oh my God,
Most
there's
of
that
us-
photo I was going to delete,
Most of us probably would practically care, but as I was listening to on another podcast, was talking about, do we really need to keep all the photos we've ever taken in our lives? Again, that's another podcast.
Yeah. Well, we will talk about that because you know what I've been doing? I've just been smashing the delete button to get my data down. At the
Have you
moment.
really?
A huge way.
Yeah, so if you've, I guess this little side note is that if you find that you've got lots of hard drives and are finding it difficult to manage all the files that you've got because you've got multiple catalogs spread across multiple hard drives and it's a shit show.
Hate it so
This
much.
is where you need to consolidate, and I've been coaching a few of my clients about one Lightroom catalog on one hard drive with all your photos on that one hard drive. Buy a bigger hard drive.
A good quality big hard drive.
Make sure that you replicate it over another 2 or 3 hard drives. Just don't have all your photos on one hard drive and nothing else. That's not the point of the topic. That's why we've been chatting with you today about this. But consolidate and make sure that you can find everything you want on that one hard drive, and one Lightroom catalog.
I totally agree. And that's the thing is you got to work out what's important and then make sure what's important is backed up. And
That's what I
everything
was
else
saying.
you can just go.
And then once you've done all that and got them all onto one drive, you can then go through your Lightroom catalog and go, do I really need 20 of that same photo?
Yeah.
I've got my 5-star favorite there, and I'm coaching myself here.
Yeah.
Because I'm yet to do this, but I should.
Oh, I do this all the time. This is
And
like
I should just be selecting all the others that aren't 5 stars and pressing delete, because I think I'm under the illusion that either those files are valuable, or that one day I'm going to get to go through them and find some gold.
Well, you could do the old special edition thing. So you go like, these photos are all one of one. But you would shoot at 30 frames a second of a still landscape. So they are a different file.
I've got 100 of the same thing, but you can have that one of one for nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because that
right.
is a unique moment in time.
Anyway.
It was a split second after the other moment. So
I feel like if there was a buzzer that we should be pressing for full time now, we should be
I
going.
reckon.
I think we've rammed home the point.
we have. But that said, are we doing our competition?
Well, we are running a competition at the moment. Absolutely. Do you remember what the keyword was for Christmas?
Oh, I can't remember that. I usually have a few drinks before these.
We have a competition. If you jump onto our Facebook page, you'll be able to enter the competition. We'll put the link below in the YouTube and the Facebook group. Okay. And the keyword for the podcast.
So you're going to win you're winning a Beef Op ticket for next year.
That's right. We are
Yeah.
giving away a 2024 BFOP ticket valued at
$235?
$235. Look, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but in
That's a
fact,
terabyte and a half.
you cannot buy this
storage.
ticket from now on because they've all been sold out. Isn't that right?
We're getting very close.
Okay, almost. This is a money can't buy ticket.
Something like that, yeah.
And if you use the keyword, today's secret word, which is
Today's secret word or the
insert
last from the last
last
podcast.
trip, which we can't remember. So we'll
So
just
you have to go back
insert
and listen
here.
to the last
No,
listen to the last podcast.
make sure you enter our competition. Every time we do a YouTube video like this or a podcast,
Yep.
we're going to be giving away stuff, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's just bribes to have people listen.
And statistically, you're probably one of like 6 people who are listening and watching. And so that is a much higher win
high.
rate than almost any other place on the planet.
Very high. So please enter. We love you. Thanks very much for watching and listening.
Hey, and also, if you like the new format, we would love to hear comments. And I'm going to do the whole thing. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Down below.
Down below.
You can
Add
leave
your comments below. Yeah,
leave
please.
your comments, share it out with friends, people who you think might like it. And we'd love to hear your feedback as well, or if there are topics you'd like us to cover. And in the future topics, we've also got, the reason we're going a bit more visual is because we're photographers, not audiographers or whatever the hell they're called. and we're going to be...
Audiologists.
Audiologists,
Yeah.
doctors,
Right,
I don't know.
right.
But we're going to be sharing, some tips, tricks, photos, actual stuff on our camera, screen sharing, things like that. So you can tune in via YouTube to watch us. Or if you want to listen to us, we're going to truncate it so you don't miss out on
It is going to be visual, a richer format, a richer way of delivering our quality information. We might even do it naked.
All right. Get my summer bottom.
Mic drop.
All right. Anyway, wrap it up.
Bye. See ya. Love you. Miss you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for yet another episode of Matt and Tom's excellent podcast. This episode is brought to you by Matt Crummins and Tom Fancy Pants Putt, both of whom are working photographers running workshops all over Australia and, of course, the world. Join us on one of our workshops, and in the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast to make sure you stay up to date.